Hey everybody, how you doing? IntoWeapons back again with you. Gonna do a quick video today on replacing the night sight inserts for the Zastava M70 O-PAP rifle. This is a pretty cool and popular rifle on the market right now. They're becoming harder to find as they were only imported with limited numbers. The n-pap is more readily available. Unfortunately, the n-pap does not have the night sight insert cutouts on that rifle, so you're not able to bring that up to more of an authentic state, which we're going to do today with this O-PAP rifle. So this O-PAP rifle again is coming from Zastava, Serbia. I should say the factory Zastava in Serbia. It is a really cool variant. It's got the thick RPK type receiver with the bulged front trunnion. It's got the night sight inserts here, which I'll show you, which is pretty uncommon for a rifle. Century does import these and build these rifles, and then they take out the night sight inserts for whatever reason. Maybe they don't come with it, but I'm not sure. You'll notice in the back of this rear AK sight, though, you'll notice there's a hole drilled right there, which is pretty uncommon for an AK rear sight. What that actually holds is the pins for the flip-up rear night sight, and in the front here on the front sight block you'll also have a couple holes there for the pins, as well as that shape cutout there on the front there, as you can see, for where it flips up and down for the front night sight. So to bring this rifle back into more of its original configuration, I'm going to go ahead and replace the tritium night sights on this and just make this rifle a little bit more authentic. So the first step that you're going to have to really do is try to find all of the night sights and tritium vials and everything that goes along with getting it, ready to go, essentially. That's more of a difficult task. The tritium vials are a little bit more harder to come by. I purchased mine from a place called CFP Marketplace by a guy named Merkava. I bought 3 of them. You will need 3 tritium vials. The size of them are 1.5 by 6 millimeters. They also come in a size of 1.55 by 5 millimeters. And to get 3 tritium vials, which is again needed for this one rifle, it'll run you about $25. At least that's what it ran me. So that'll actually take care of the tritium vials, which will go inside of the night sights here, the little tubes. So that takes care of that part. What you also need to do is get either the entire rear leaf assembly with the night sight insert already installed on it, so you can just replace this whole rear leaf spring. You also need to get the front night sight flip-up insert, as well as the pins and spring that's required from it. There's a couple different places you can source the night sights from. The place that I purchased mine from was a complete set. It came with the rear sight and the front flip-up sight with no pins, unfortunately, and no spring. I got those from Velocity Firearms, and it did run me a little bit more expensive at $145. And again, that didn't include the springs or the pins that I need in order to get the front night sight installed. The rear night sight did have already tritium vials in it. I should say the front sight did as well, which do work, fortunately. They're not as bright as brand new tritium vials, but they will work for now, and I won't replace the tritium vials at this point. If you want a video on how to replace the tritium vials, I recently did replace the vials on my M70 AB2, and you can look back on my channel for that video if you're interested. So again, I got these 2 pieces from Velocity Firearms for $145. You can also purchase them separately, I believe, the rear sight and the front sight from Apex Gun Parts. Desert Tactical might be another place that you'll be able to find them. And then if you're looking more for a cheaper means, you can also get them from some private sellers on AK Files Forum for about $99. And unfortunately, I don't have that guy's name on hand, but you could certainly do a wanted to buy ad there. I'm sure somebody will be able to help you out. So that'll kind of take care of the night sight inserts and the tritium vials. The next thing I needed to source was the pins and the spring for the front sight. I did get the actual spring from Desert Tactical. They were able to sell me just that for about $5, I think it cost me. So a little bit more expensive to have to add that on there, but it is what it is. You can't do it without it. And then I did have to find pins that worked for it, and the pins themselves, let me see if I can find the size of that, was 2 millimeters by 13 millimeters. I bought a pack of 100 for $5 of 2 by 15 millimeters off Amazon.com for $5. So I got 98 left of these, and what I had to do is just use a Dremel tool to cut it down to size to make it fit where it doesn't stick out either end on my front sight block there. So I got, like I said, 98 pins left. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but we'll just hold on to them for the time being. So that's kind of where I sourced all of that stuff from. Again, I don't know how the inventory from those specific dealers and retailers are going to last. There might be other retailers available in the future that have them. You're really just going to have to do some digging and researching on your own in order to source that stuff out. So the next step here, guys, is we'll go ahead and replace the rear sight, and we'll get set up to do that. Alright guys, so we're going to start with replacing the rear sight here fortunately, like I said, when I purchased my kit from Velocity Firearms, they sent me the complete replacement for the rear sight here with the night sight inserts already installed on them. You might be able to find a retailer where they just sell you the night sight inserts, where you can just install the night sight inserts on this current rear sight by itself. Now, I'm not obviously going to be able to demonstrate that, so what we're going to demonstrate is just replacing the rear sight altogether. It's a pretty straightforward process. It's not very difficult. We're going to use a towel, and that's just going to help us from marring up any surfaces. We're going to use a flathead screwdriver here. We're going to put the flathead screwdriver right here in this rivet, kind of the line that runs down this rear sight here, and we're going to use a mallet like this just to kind of pop it out. And again, I'm going to cover the end of this part up so I don't mar any surfaces. And I'm going to take my screwdriver, find this rivet here, this little line, find where I got it there. You're going to get a good angle of whack on it there, and just going to give a good hit with this mallet. This will probably go flying, but try to do it once and one time only. It'll save you a lot of hassle. So there we go. And as you can see, it popped right off. I don't have a rear sight there. And there we go. To put the new sight in, this is a little bit more difficult because you have this spring here which provides the torque in order to hold everything in place. The easiest way to do that is kind of go in like this and then push down with this screwdriver here on this spring, and then just really crank this in there as hard as possible. I'm not going to really be able to do this on camera because I'm going to be grunting and groaning and probably getting in the way of the picture, so I'm going to do that off camera here and we'll come back shortly. Okay, so it wasn't very difficult. Again, I just wasn't really able to show you that replacement of that night sight just because I get in the way of the camera. You really got to crank down on it and put a lot of pressure on it. But as you can see, I got it in there. Very easy, not too difficult. So again, trying to replace that whole rear sight is probably a lot easier than trying to get in here and replace just this night sight insert. But what you'll see now is instead of having that hole there, we actually have that flip down night sight, which I can put onto regular standard AK sights, or flip it back up for the night sights, and we'll try to get you a picture here of what that looks like. And there's the night sights flipped up, and the night sights flipped down. And those tritium vials, again, are not horribly gone. They still provide a decent glow, and I'm not going to be able to show you, got a lot of lights down here, but as you can see, the night sights are pretty easy to get in there. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the front sights. Okay, so now we'll look at the front sight. The front sight I thought was going to be a lot more difficult than what it actually is, so fortunately this isn't too difficult of a process. We're going to need our front sight insert, which we got in our package. We're going to need the spring for it, which I had to source from Desert Tactical. Hopefully they have some available when you're needing it. And then again, we need the 2 pins to hold everything in there, which are 2 millimeters by 13 millimeters. I bought a pack of 100 from Amazon.com of 2 by 15 millimeters for $5. So I have 98 pins left, so I'll be able to mess these up. I did have to cut 2 millimeters off each pin with a Dremel tool just to get it down to the correct size so my pins weren't sticking out on the front sight block here. The first step, what we're going to do is go ahead and take one of our pins and we're going to put it in the lower hole, the one closest to the barrel, and we're going to slide that through and just essentially seat that into both the holes. Now you're probably going to want to use like a pliers like this to kind of manipulate these around a little bit. Makes things getting in there a little bit easier. But just fully seat that as best as you can into that hole. And again, I'm going to try to do this without taking up too much of the footage for you guys here. But as you can see now, I got 1 pin in there. The second step is taking this spring, which I got from Desert Tactical, and we're going to slide that right down in there. And you want to fully seat that spring. So one of the edges here, and I don't know if I can actually show you that, one of those hooks, more or less, gets right behind that spring, or that pin, I should say. So there you go, kind of fully seat that down. That will provide your torque for that night sight to be flipped up and down. The next step is what gets a little bit more difficult. You're going to take your night sight insert, and we're going to go ahead and place it down into the position where it kind of belongs. And as you can see right there, that kind of just sits right in there. Now this part is a little bit more difficult if you can't get it to line up because that spring is providing a lot of torque on there. But what we're going to do is just push this pin through, holding everything together. And this might be something I might need to do off camera because, again, it's going to take a little bit of pressure with my finger and maybe a screwdriver to get this lined up correctly But I think you guys get the idea as far as just trying to get this in here, just kind of pushing down, making sure all the holes are lined up and getting that through. I might need to use a little hammer and a punch to get this pushed through. So I'm going to do that off camera. We'll be back real quick here. Okay, so there we have it. We have the other pin driven in. It just took a little bit of effort pushing this down so it lined up, and just tapped it in, and that's as easy as it gets. Now we're able to flip up this night sight insert. It's got torque from that spring in there. And you can flip it up to use that night sight, or flip it back down to use your standard AK sight. We'll go ahead and take it off the vise here, guys. We'll give you an overview of it. Okay, so we have everything installed. I think for a total of $160, $185 if you need to replace the tritium vials. It is a pretty expensive upgrade. I'm sure there are cheaper means out there of sourcing some of this stuff. I really didn't put a whole lot of time into trying to do that. I just kind of bought what I found. So you might be able to save yourself an extra few bucks and get down to the $100 to $120 range. But again, it's still an investment in this type of rifle. Being that this is an investment type, collector type rifle, there's limited importation of it. I think it's probably a pretty decent upgrade. So to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at here, hopefully this will kind of turn out for you, but you can kind of see our standard sight picture there with the standard AK sights. And then if we go ahead and flip up the night sights with the rear, like that, and then flip up the front sight, like that. Now let's see if we can get you another sight picture here. I'll put in some regular still images as well to kind of show you the sight picture on that, but it gives you an idea of how that looks, how it turned out. Overall, I think it's a really good upgrade for this rifle. Again, it brings the authenticity back to this rifle from its original configuration. If only I could get a gas shut-off grenade sight on this, this rifle would, minus being semi-auto, would be probably a full AK variant from Zastava the Zastava military, so or Serbian military. I'm sorry. But that's pretty much it, guys. I hope this helps somebody out. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, as always, I appreciate watching. Until next time, take it easy.